Just a bit of a reminder that the session is being recorded. So if you do wish to remain anonymous or you do not wish to interact in the session in a way that you will be identified, then you are welcome to just stick to communicating in the chat. If you are fine to, if you have any questions, you're welcome to put on your microphone and ask us questions at any point throughout today's session. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and just go through okay, let's first start off by introducing Diane. Do you want to go ahead?
Hi everyone, I'm Diane. I am a learning designer within SALT's course and curriculum development unit, and I'm very happy to be here presenting to you today. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you so much, Diane. You can see me. My name is Donna Lewis. I am a learning technologist here at SALT, and I work mainly on the Vula help desk. So for those of you who I have emailed, you might have come across me at some point. I have the pleasure of working with Diane today to take you through building discussions and groups. I'm going to stop sharing my camera and just continue with my audio. Just a gentle reminder that this session is very specific to our UCT context, and that is the reason that we've created these separate sessions. So functionality may change based on the exploration and what has happened in these pilot sessions, and the layout may change. Also, Brightspace layout in general looks different from another institution, and that's why this training has been done to help you navigate specifically from our UCT context. Okay, with that being said, hopefully we can start the session. Please, can I get a thumbs up or in the chat if everybody is ready to start? Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. We won't go around the room to introduce ourselves. We'll just get into today's session. Okay, so what will not be covered in today's session is setting up and using other engagement and communication channels, such as alerts, announcements, the email and intelligent agent tools, calendar and notifications. We also will not be covering grading in relation to discussions, grading tool setup, assignments and rubrics. Certain of these aspects have already been covered in webinars and others will be covered in webinars to follow. We will show you a reminder of the schedule at the end of today's session. What we will cover today, however, is the fundamentals of using the discussion tool. We will touch on comparing the Brightspace discussions to Vula discussions, just in terms of functionality, options, and terminology. We'll then go to navigating Brightspace to access the discussions tool and then creating discussions. So the setup, the features, the functions, what restrictions there are, such as the hiding and release dates, and also various media that can be used within this tool. Diane has set up a great example of us to see the different ways in which we can apply discussions to different areas and functions that's needed, as well as the importance of the instructional text to guide the discussion process. We take you through threads and how to respond, as well as embedding discussions or making discussions visible in the HTML page, which is the former lessons page of Vula. What we'll also then touch on is groups. So the function of groups in relation to discussions, how to create groups, and then linking the groups to the discussions. Diane will then take you through a demonstration and we'll explain everything to you as we go along. Like we said before, feel free to put your microphone on and ask questions as we go along. We do have the option to have a bit of a Q&A at the end of today's session. What's important for me to remind you of is that for those of you who do not already have it, there are sandbox sites available for you to make use of on our Brightspace platform. If you do not already have a sandbox site or access to Brightspace, please contact us on help@Vula and we will make sure that we set that up for you. Just a reminder again that certain customizations and things might change throughout the process. Because this is specifically for the sandbox sites for piloting only, the site is for you to play around in. Don't feel the need to not do things or to curb yourself. This is your space. Nobody else will go and look at it unless you give permission for them to do so. This is your space to explore and create as you see fit. If you do end up creating or building your sandbox site in a way that it speaks to a course that you have, and you wish to import certain aspects to an actual course at a later stage, one of the LDs will assist you and take you through that. Okay, so we'll touch on a bit of comparison between Brightspace and Vula, and I will leave Di to take over from this point.
Thank you so much, Donna, for that. So in relation to discussions, which was formerly known as forums in Vula, the name is the same pretty much in Brightspace. And in Brightspace, you would start a new thread as opposed to starting a new conversation as you did in Vula. The other thing to note is that discussions can be created directly within the discussion tool or from a unit's lesson page, which would link to the discussion from there. And of course, while creating it, you do have access to the rich text editor, as you did in Vula, and you can attach various media files, file types to topics. So for example, your images, web links, PDFs. You can also record audio, video or audio for your students. And we will see this in the demo shortly. So the one interesting thing to point out is also that in the recorded response that you would make for your students, it also includes captions. So in relation to notifications, discussions does offer exhaustive options for notifications that can be viewed in summarized activity, which again, I'll just show you that once we get to the demo portion of this presentation. Can we please move to the next slide? Okay, so this first bit, which says create a short description in Vula, this was for the actual description bit where you had the option to have 255 character limit. The option in Brightspace that I'm speaking of here, topic subject description, is only for the subject line. So this, it's set using integers between 1 and 150, only applies to the subject line, not necessarily the actual description space. You also have statistics. In Vula, it was named, authored, read, unread, percent read, tabulated, etc. In Brightspace, you have the option to view by the user or by the unit and by the forum or the topic, and you can export these stats to a CSV file. So in terms of restrictions, these generally include hiding from user, your start dates, your calendar, release conditions, and of course, group and sections. So the restrictions are found at the forum and topic levels. And as I mentioned, they determine when students can view and access dates, i.e. the hide from users start and close dates. You also have anonymous posting, and you can moderate posts. Within the release conditions, you can also check the display calendar box for dates to be visible in the students' calendars. So you'll notice that majority of these parallel with Vula functionality. A lecturer can also limit access by group and section. So for group restricted threads, a topic needs to be empty to enable assignment of a group to that topic. And again, we'll see this practical example when we get to the demo. In terms of assessment, you notice under restrictions, it says new topic where there are 4 tabs: properties, restrictions, assessments. So in terms of assessments, which again, we will not be talking too much about today, I'll just give a brief overview. I'll touch on that briefly because it isn't the focus of our webinar. You can assign topics to groups, and those discussion topics can be associated with grade items via this assessment tab in the topic settings. You're also able to attach and externally create rubrics, or you can create a rubric while setting up your topic. Scores can populate using that rubric attached, and there is a section to provide general feedback beneath that. As a rule of thumb in Brightspace, you'd have to create the grade item within the grades tool before associating it to a discussions topic for grading. So as I mentioned, we won't be further discussing any discussions grading related information today, as there's going to be a webinar titled Assessing Discussions, which is coming up on the 27th of June from 10 to 11 a.m., which will address all that, followed by another one, another webinar called Managing Assessment, Quick Eval Grades and Rubrics, and that's on the 28th of June from 12 to 1. And these both speak to assessments. Again, we'll leave at the end of our presentation, we'll just leave a schedule of webinars that are coming up. The other thing to note here is you do have the option to rate a post. So no rating, 5-star rating, the upvote or the downvote, or just the upvote only. So we strongly recommend just using the upvote only to create a more positive learning environment with your students, and not necessarily to use the others, just to ensure that no one is discouraged as you go along. So finally, you can also just include the original post when responding to a post. Okay, next slide. Go ahead, Dada.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we are headed into the practical demonstration of the session, but just as a bit of a guideline for those of you who perhaps don't have 2 screens, or you're going to be listening at the same time as doing it, just to guide you as to how to get to the different various sections that we're going to be working on. So you will log into your Brightspace area. If you already have login details, please make use of it. Once you're in this area, please search for the little waffle icon at the mini bar at the top, just next to your name, and click on that in order to either search for your course site, or just below this, you'll be able to see the course over there. You will click on the course, and this is the course that you wish to create your discussion in. So at any point, it would be one of the courses that you create, but for now, it will be your sandbox site. So once your page loads and you are in your course, on the top nav bar, you will find and locate the heading Activities. And if you click on this, a drop-down menu pops out where you will click on Discussions. Once you have done this, you'll be redirected to the discussions page. And there's various options available for you over here, and I will take you through that. There's then the option to click on new, and either new forum or new topic. But what are forums, topics, and threads? It can get confusing, so Di will take you through this now. Thanks, Di. I will stop sharing.
All right, so for the purposes of those who are maybe new to, who've never probably used Vula, or just who don't fully understand discussions and how it works, I'll just explain a bit. So the discussions tool allows you to simulate classroom discourse by creating a virtual space where students respond to prompts which they can discuss with peers. They can share relevant insights between each other. They can collaborate on assignments. They can post questions. They can peer review each other's work. And generally, it's sort of just a space for students to actively contribute to their own learning as opposed to passively learning. So the tool in Brightspace is similar to Vula in that discussions are organized units which combine various related topics. So let me share my screen. Okay, are we all able to see that?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay. So I will just quickly take us there using my nav bar, go to activities, and we'll click on discussions. So after I've just talked through some of the discussions that I've created, and when we get to the portion where I show you how to create one, feel free as well to go into your sandboxes and to follow along. But let me just go into talking a bit more about the forums and the topics, which you would find here under new. Okay, so the discussion forum, think about it as the overarching holding space where students meet and they find their topics. So similar to Vula, it houses the discussion topics within its title or its category. Since empty forums do not allow students to create posts, topics need to exist within a forum for a conversation to occur. And again, to reiterate, on its own, a discussion forum cannot be posted to directly. A topic is required. And then speaking of the topic itself, it's a separate space where different conversations will take place. The topics indicate what is to be discussed, so students will respond by starting a thread. It's key to remember to assign a topic to a forum where you want it to reside. So two types of topics exist: open topics, which are open to everybody, and group or section topics, which have access restricted to specific groups. And then in terms of the thread, which is the equivalent of the Vula start a new conversation, here it would be start a new thread. These are the actual conversations occurring in that topic. So both the lecturer and the students are able to react to a response posted by an individual to that topic, which consequently starts the thread. I sincerely hope I explained that clearly. Please stop me if anything was confusing. All right, so once we are on our discussions page, I think we can go to our settings just to sort of orient you a little. So you'll notice that with each of the lines of text, there is a question mark that appears. This is just for you to get a little bit more information about what that line of text is. So as you are going through your settings, you are able to just quickly read if you don't fully understand what that is. So as I mentioned earlier, you can include an original post in your reply, which I have activated here. If I don't want it, obviously I can just click off of it. And this is where I was speaking about the rating system. So this, whatever you apply in these settings will apply to all your forums going forward. So you can always come back and change them later, but for now, I have mine set up, so upvote only rating is enabled for every post that is made. And then availability condition defaults. So before start dates and after end start dates, you also have options here for when you want the students to be able to see the forum and the topic. I have mine set as visible with access restricted before they start. And the same as well for my end dates. The other important one to note here would be the post fields to display. So post ID refers to the actual ID of the post that is made. And org defined ID refers to the person making that post. So because I want to see the name of my student on each post, I have clicked org defined ID. And then the last one, the limit number of characters of the subject to display in the post, as I mentioned earlier, between 1 and 150 characters here. So I can set it, I can change it if I don't want it to be 150, but we do recommend just keeping it at 150. The more characters, the better. It doesn't hurt. So moving into the actual discussions. So you have discussions, list, subscriptions, group and sections restrictions, and statistics. So the discussions list here, you'll see once I've finished explaining these, that it actually shows all the discussions that are there. Your subscriptions essentially refer to the, well, yeah, you setting your what you want to be subscribed to and where you want them to show up. So show notifications in minibar. This is my minibar here. So my notifications would be under the bell. If I want to change all of my notifications, and they are exhaustive, as I said earlier, there are quite a few here. So there are many boxes to tick. You are welcome at any point to go and look through that. In terms of groups and restrictions, I would need to obviously have some groups in there, and I can add my restrictions to this page, or I can do it within the topics, as I'm going to show you shortly. And then in terms of the statistics, this is what I was referring to earlier. You can view them by users or by forums and topics. So if you go to forums and topics, this is my forum, and these are my topics. And it shows you the threads, the replies, what was pinned, unapproved, the scores, my upvotes. I don't have down, so that's not going to show. I also don't allow 5-star ratings, so that will not also be populated. And again, you can export to CSV file after. So there are my students. I can also see here who has posted, who has read, including their own posts, replies to other people's posts, etc. All right, so I will just go here back to our discussions landing page just to show you what things look like. I've created a few just so you could actually see what these will look like. Perhaps maybe I should show this to you from a student view. All right, so I have Q1, Module 1. This is my forum name. And within my forum, I have various topics. I have class introductions, and I have week 1, lesson 2, and I've just put in a title there. Then I also have another forum here. That's a reading discussions forum. So I can add in various topics within that reading discussion. I also have a tutorial discussions forum, which again, every other week I could put in different topics within that forum. But going back to the first one, I've just put in a blurb here that sort of familiarizes students with what they're looking at. So this forum contains discussions we'll engage in about the third quarter of the semester, and I've just put some dates. If I had a module 2, so maybe in my quarter 3 module 1, I have 6 or 7 lessons, and then, or if I've got maybe 3, and then I have another module with another 3, you know, I could separate my forums that way. I've also added in the section here. While using this platform, please remember UCT's harassment policies, which prohibit abuse of your peers and staff. This line is essentially there just to, you know, as a placeholder, I guess, for rules of conduct, kind of making students aware that they should just engage in a polite manner with their peers. The UCT harassment policies are embedded in the course orientation module, which should be on each of the pilot courses. It would have been added by the LD. If it has not been added, feel free to speak to your LD about adding the course orientation module. Within it, the UCT policies are all there, including things like referencing, etc. So this is a good line to include. Then in terms of class introductions, this is just an example. If, for example, you do not want to do your class introductions on MS Teams or on Zoom, or you're not meeting face-to-face, maybe you just want to use discussions. You are also welcome to do it this way, to create the discussion page. It is also very important to include instructional text, because again, it's a new space. Students need to know how to navigate it. So if I'm a student, I'm going to click on that. Again, I'll read, and then it gives me instructions on what I need to do next. Start a new thread. I would click on that, and then it asks me to enter a subject. And the interesting thing about this is this. Sorry, go ahead.
We can't see the pop-up, first of all, but there are 2 questions. So let me know when I can ask those.
You can't see, so you cannot see the page I'm on currently?
No, we can't.
I'm so sorry, I don't know what happened.
No, it's fine. It's just as soon as you click into it, we can't see where you add the thread. Once you click to start the thread, we stop seeing.
Okay, let me get out of student view and I'll just show you from my own perspective, and I'll share again.
Okay, while you're at it, I just want to ask, there's 2 questions. The first one is, does post ID option make the posts anonymous?
So post ID, no, I don't think so. I think, but you can within, I'll show you now, within the actual post, you can make the, let me just go into this and show you.
Okay, sure. And then there's another question. If you read a post, does it automatically mark it as read, or must it be done manually?
No, it marks it as read. So you'll notice here on my example, can you see you can see my screen?
Yes, we can see class introductions and the option to start a new thread and name.
Okay, so you notice here at the bottom, it says unread, 1 reply, 9 views. So 9 views just is how many times was this looked at? The reply is how many people replied, right? So this automatically populates. Once somebody makes a post or whatever, it will show up here. And then, as I said, with the post ID thing, you can set to anonymous once you're creating the topic, which I will show you shortly.
Thank you.
This is we were just playing around to give you an idea of what a response would look like. So in discussions, it's kind of weird because I'm sure you're wondering why it says in enter a subject type my intro. I've just put this in here as having one basic word that all the students will use. And the reason for that is it always asks when you start a new thread, it'll ask you to put in a subject. And, just for the sake of consistency, just all of them having the same title is just easier. And which is why I said here, this title is above the name of the student you'd want to respond to. So if I wanted to, if there were 8 responses here and I just wanted to respond to Donna, I'd just go to Donna's name. I would click my intro and then I would reply to that thread. But just to show you also what a response looks like, earlier I mentioned that you can make a video. So this was me responding to Donna. This is an example of a lecturer response to a student. The blurred image would be the lecturer's face. Okay, so that just kind of gives you a sense of what you could do. And this would be done in the rich text editor once you hit reply to thread. So you notice here, it asks me for a subject, and to create that response, I went into insert stuff, and then I hit add video note, and then I recorded my webcam. So you would just hit new recording, say what you need to say, and follow next, and the system would just generate. Okay, I'm going to get out of this.
If I can pop in here and just say, when we were testing it out, the uploading of the video, once you've created it and save it, can take a little bit of time. So just a reminder to be patient. It does do it. It just needs time to process.
Yeah, it's not a long time, but it does take a little bit of time. And then again, you can see here with each topic, you can see on the side of it how many threads. So the threads would be how many people have posted in response, which currently was, the conversation is one conversation and there are 2 posts within that conversation. And the last post was made by this person, and it tells you what time that was made. So if you are creating a lesson, you see here, I've got a little lesson included. I've put in my title, I've put in a little blurb, and I've also included a video that can be watched. And again, my topic or my reading here, I've said the reading is by Velati. So I've just said when they're responding, they'll put in Velati to respond. And you see here an example of a response to Velati. Students can also subscribe to a thread of conversation, so they can click that and they are subscribed and they'll get notified anytime somebody else posts to that conversation. And then I just want to go through the other ones before I create a new discussion with you. Right, so the other ones are, I created a little reading group here. Again, I just put in some, what is the space for? Who's going to be responding to my posts? So I've said here, your individual tutors will engage with you around your responses. And then what I've done is I created groups. You see here at the top, it says group or section restrictions must post first. That just means students have to post first, and they will also be posting within their groups that I have created, which is why we're talking about groups today. Because if you create a topic and you want students to, if you want to assign certain topics to a group, then you need to, this is where you would do it. All right, can I go ahead and show you how to create one?
If everyone can post a reaction or a thumbs up or something in the chat just to let us know that you are fine. If there's no further questions, if you are fine to start. Okay. The thumbs up are there. I think we are ready to start creating with you. Thanks, Di.
All right. So it's I would say it's kind of really important when you are doing your course builds to have all your basic stuff that you already know upfront created. So things like your assignments, create your assignments first. We've included a build order at the end of our webinar. It's very useful to follow those steps because when you want to assign discussions or topics to groups, it would obviously be nice to have your groups created already. So if we go into course info, we would click on groups at the very bottom. So it says here, I mean, your page might be blank because you have nothing on it. But in my page, you'll see it says view categories. So I have practical labs. I also have tutorials because those are the groups that I created earlier. So as you see, these are my labs. These are my members. They are the discussions that these labs are attached to. These are my tutorials that I have created. And when I created these, I created the tutorials category, and in that, I put this information here. So where are my tutorials? They're going to be face-to-face on campus. There'll be one tutorial each week. So Tuesday, a Wednesday, a Thursday, all at the same time. It may be different for your course, so that information would go there. Because as you notice, unlike at Vula, it doesn't give you a space to put the venue, the time, who your tutor is, etc. It doesn't give you that. So that information I'd kind of just throw in there. And then if they are going to be expected to attend however many, you would put all that information at the top as well, and how it relates to DP. So TUT group 1, you'll see I also added in here the tutor name and surname, the day, Tuesdays, this is the time and the venue or building if they're doing it face-to-face. As I have said here, you are having face-to-face TUTs. So I would do that for each of these. After I've created the group, I would just put those categories in. But moving into the actual creation of said groups. So you would start with a group category name. In our case, maybe I'm going to call it group, possibly call it group projects. So in the section here, it says you need to put a little description. So let me just copy paste what I had on the side. All right, so just a little blurb up there, just letting them know that these are their personal group spaces and only the lecturers and tutors will have access to it. Others can't access it, etc. Now we move into this little interesting section. So you notice here you have a number of groups, no enrollments, group of numbers, number of groups, group of numbers, self-enrollment, etc. I'm going to just explain these. Again, if you're following in your sandbox, you can just click on the down arrow as I do the explaining for you. So number of groups.
Come in, we can see your notepad. I'm not sure if you want to share.
No, I don't want to share. I just put, these are my own personal notes. I just wanted to share.
You can, if you want to stop sharing and just share that.
I'll stop sharing because these are my personal notes about my, there's 7 groups that I wrote notes about. So, whoops. What is going on? Stop sharing.
Yeah, okay.
So just to explain, I have actually copied and pasted the text in there, but I'm just going to explain a little bit about the number of groups and the other enrollment types, of which there are 7. So from those 7, you can obviously pick the one that best suits your needs. With the number of groups, no enrollments, these are primarily used to create specific number of groups and which students you want to enroll in those groups. So you would be the one enrolling your students into that group. I think maybe when we do our example, because of my blurb that I'd written on my notepad, I think we're going to use that example. In terms of the other enrollments, we have groups of number, which is used to create a minimum number of groups needed to place students in groups of a specific size. Here, enrollment can be automatic or manual, with the option, of course, to randomize your users. And your options do change depending on what enrollment type you do choose. So if your auto-enroll is enabled and new students are added to this option, but the groups are at capacity, these students are added to a new group. If your auto-enroll is disabled, the system creates the minimum number of groups needed for the class list, which the class lists, I think, will be added toward the end of your build in your course sites, but it won't enroll those students. So when I created the practical labs, I think this is the option that I used. So a use case would be for, as I said, lab work, where a lab can only have a specific number of students at a certain time. So if you're having your labs face-to-face and you just want to put the students into groups for them to be able to see where they belong, yeah, that would be a good option. The third one, number of groups, is used to create a specific number of groups. Here again, enrollment can be automatic or manual, with the option again to randomize. So if auto-enroll is enabled, again, students are added by the system, and it uses this sort of brick-laying algorithm. And it doesn't matter if the students enrolled before or after the groups are created. So for example, if a class has 12 students and 3 groups, the first student is placed in group 1, the next one would go into group 2, the third one group 3, etc. And it'll just, the system will keep adding students in that manner. And if you disable auto-enroll, the specified number of groups are created, but students won't be enrolled again. So the use case for this one would be if you know how many groups you need, but you want the system to randomly place students into those groups. So if your class is offering, for example, in-person mock exams on different days and at different times, for example. The fourth one would be the groups of numbers self-enrollment, and this one is used to auto-create the minimum number of students of, the minimum number of groups that will accommodate the students in groups of a specific size. So students will pick a group that they want to be in from the groups page. If you know how many students you want in each group, but want to give them the ability to choose their own groups, then this option would apply. You can also set the self-enrollment start and close dates and allocate unenrolled users, i.e. students, after the self-enrollment date has expired, because you can put in dates as well for that. Here, the use case could be class presentations. You'd ask students to enroll themselves in groups from the ones you've created, which have a specified maximum capacity, and they can pick who they want to work with, I guess. The fifth one would be number of groups, self-enrollment. This is used to create a specified number of groups and which students can enroll in. Students pick their own group. again from the groups page. And you can use this if you have a specific number of groups available for students to join. Here too, you can also set the self-enrollment start and close dates. And again, you can also allocate unenrolled users. So this one also works, I think, for TUT group selections. If they want to pick different days or different times, as I kind of showed in my example, or for groups based on relevance assessment topics that you create, and they can pick based on their preferred topic. The sixth one is the number of groups capacity of number, self-enrollment, which is used to create a specified number of groups with a specified number of enrollments per group. Students pick the group. The option is good when you know, again, the number of students that you want and the number of students in that group. And if you want students to select their own groups. So group, again, in this one, group presentations would apply. So maybe 4 presentation topics, for example, from which students can pick. You then create 4 groups and limit the groups to 4 members. As an example, the very final one would be the single user member specific groups, which is used to create a personal type group with 1 student, where the first name and the surname of the student is the name of that group. So when a new learner is enrolled into the course, a group is automatically created for them. And again, your class list needs to exist. So I don't know, you could use this, I guess, for virtual consults or one-on-one presentations, or I don't know, a journaling sort of space if you need to. All right, let me just go into creating. I need to copy paste from my.
Just to check if anyone has any questions at this point, you're welcome to switch on your microphone or to post your questions in the chat.
Cool.
And just to check if everyone is fine, if you can give a thumbs up or some sort of notification that you're still fine, that we are moving along at a steady pace and that everyone's okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, Control C. Oh, sorry, Donna, shall I share my screen?
Yes, please. You have the option to do that.
Yep, I do.
Okay, good.
I just was wondering if you were still going to be doing it for me. All right. So we were here, and I copied pasted some text. So I think we'll use here groups of numbers, self-enroll. How many users do I want to have in each group? Perhaps I want 3. No restrictions, that doesn't apply. And then I can just put a prefix here for my group. So maybe this is, I don't know. Okay, so you see here it offers me these options: set enrollment start date. I can do that. Maybe I wanted to start today, and perhaps I wanted to start immediately, or maybe I wanted to start at 3. Sure. Actually, let's just say 1 p.m. An expiry date, tomorrow is fine. Obviously, students would need to be given more time, but this is just for the sake of the example. So here you notice it also says create a workspace, set up a discussion area. So if I've created discussions, my discussions are going to show up here, and I can pick the discussion that I want to associate to this group or the forum that I want, sorry, the forum discussion I want to associate. So here I want it to be in the module, right? If I want to create a topic, I can create a topic, which I think maybe let's do that. And I can set up assignments if I want to, if I want them to submit anything. And under file submission, it gives options here, text on paper, etc. Observed in person, and you would obviously select the one that you want. So for now, I'm just going to keep this as it is, and I'm going to hit save. Your groups are currently being created, so I need to wait for a second, but I'm just going to hit OK for the moment. And so we notice it says create one topic per group, or I can create one topic with threads separated by group. I think I want to have my topics separated by group. So I'm just going to leave that, and then this is the other text I copy pasted in there, and then I can create and next title group projects group discussion. Week 5. And done. So now I can go to my groups. You'll see here, I have group projects, labs, tutorials, so I can go between all of my different grouping categories. So I have my week 5, group 1, week 5, group 2. I also have the discussion that is associated with each of those groups. And then if I go to discussions itself, I can see here fault analysis, which is the discussion I created, and it is under the quarter 3 module 1 forum. And you'll see it says here group restrictions, because I have, of course, restricted it to each group. So when students go to that, they will be able to collaborate, engage within their groups. I would like to show you how to embed a discussion in a lessons page. It will not take long, but I just wanted to make sure everyone is okay before I move forward.
We are almost at the end of our time. We have about 4 minutes left. So
that's literally all I need.
Great. Just if we can get a thumbs up in the chat just to see that everyone's fine and following. Okay, sure. We'll let you go ahead, Di, so that hopefully we can cover it before everyone needs to leave. Okay.
So I have here a full lesson page that I've created. So within your HTML lessons page, and we encourage strongly the use of HTML pages because those are our lessons pages, the equivalent of the lessons page. I would go into edit. And I did use a template. So this is where you find your HTML templates. I did use a template to create this. So I'm just going to actually embed my, so I could insert it here as a quick link, discussions. Let me do that again, because maybe I went a little fast. I click on the link here, insert quick link. I go to discussions, and then I select whatever it is I would like for the students to go and engage in. So maybe it's this one. And then I save and I close. Sorry about the lag. But if you notice, it is now in this page. The other way of doing it would also be to add existing. And I could go to discussion. Again, same thing. And I would pick whichever one I want. The only difference now is it appears at the bottom of that folder. So I can click and drag it to underneath. So maybe I would have my blurb introducing the week or whatever. And then immediately after that, a discussion. And if you click on it, it takes you to your discussion page. Okay, I think,
Nice.
Donna, I can
Thank
hand it
you.
over to you.
Thank you so much. Just for those of you who need to leave, we are done with the practical side of the session. I just want to touch on two things before we finish. But for those of you who do need to leave, thank you very much for attending today's session. I just would also like to say thank you so much to Di as well as Max. Max is running 2 webinars at the same time and being a pro about life. So thank you so much for all the preparation that's gone into today's session. I am quickly going to share my screen. Hopefully it gives me the option to do this. Oh dear. Okay, please let me know if you can see my screen.
We can see it.
You can see the building connections page. I'm not too sure what page I'm sharing at the moment.
You are on the groups tool.
Okay. Sorry, I'm working with 2 screens and I was very confused about where I'm at. Okay. So I'm not going to speak through all of this. I'm just highlighting. I am going to email everybody at the end of the session to let you all know, to send you these slides for you to go through at your own leisure, and also hopefully to help you as a guide. The recording will be made available on the SALT YouTube channel once it has been edited. Just a few tips that we give over here. The importance of instructional text, of using the up rating to encourage positive learning environment, and to consider face-to-face models just as a guide in terms of the formal communication that needs to happen in the discussions area. We've also included a recommended bold order, such as what Di has shown you today in terms of creating your groups first and then going to your discussions, just to avoid confusion or being linked to too many other pages while having focused on one. And then just a reminder of the other sessions that are to take place after this. If you have any questions or wish to sign up or can't find the link or any other details you need, please contact Max at salt.events@uct.ac.za. Thank you so much for attending today's session and for interacting with us. Do you have any questions before we end the session?
Thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate your time. Yes, Chris?
Hi, sorry. I mean, I don't think there's time now, but I think just for the future, how we manage anonymous versus non-anonymous, etc., because it's been one of the kind of big issues, particularly with Vula, and going forward, you can have a little statement there, but it's not always sufficient to control student behavior, if I can phrase it that way. So perhaps some guides on, you know, how we can use anonymous feedback or anonymous discussions, etc., versus, I'm not a fan of anonymous, but some of my colleagues are a big fan of it.
I hear you, Chris. I just wanted to also show you, because I don't know that I did do this, but if you have a second, I can quickly show you where it actually is. just so you.
Yeah, it's not essential. I'm not running a pilot course. I'm just one of the early adopters, but it is something that is important, certainly within EDE to, I think most of us are wanting not to have anonymous, and just to make sure that we select the right settings.
Right.
To ensure that that doesn't happen.
Okay, so for those who are still here, under new topic, so all I did was click new topic, and under that, if you scroll to the bottom, once you've put in all your stuff, you have here allow anonymous post. If you don't want it, just don't tick it.
Okay,
And
so the default is not to allow anonymous.
Yes, the default is it is not permitted, but if you want it, you obviously can check the box, and then you have anonymous.
Okay.
And then for other restrictions as well, you will see at the very top of your topic settings, you'll have the restrictions for dates and times, etc., or whatever. Once you've populated the properties, then it allows you to do all the others for assessment and restrictions. But yeah.
Thank you so much, Chris, for bringing that up. That's definitely something we will take note of, because I think that's a webinar discussion in itself, just in terms of the pros and cons, but hopefully we can bring it into one of our future sessions. Thank you really much.
We hope it's given you peace of mind that it's not by default activated.
Thanks very much.
No problem.
Thank you. With that being said, all the best to you all, and we will catch you in future sessions. Good luck with your building.